when the leader said, "I'm pro-life" in 2019, it had a very beneficial effect, and it kind of drew out some of the intensity of the media attack. And it conveyed authenticity. So being more direct about that is helpful. I think it's also very helpful to find something that we as a party can give to pro-lifers to earn their support. Again, in a way that that respects the need to build consensus. There are things that you can offer the Canadian electorate that might be termed pro-life that are consensus respecting. In Prime Minister Harper's years prior to 2011, in his term prior to 2011, we implemented the maternal and child health care policy with an explicit commitment not to fund abortion in our foreign aid. And in the very next election, we won a majority. The 2011 election campaign does illustrate that you can do some things in a sophisticated way and still win. I think the key takeaway from the last series of elections in Canada over the last 16 years basically is that the one time the Conservative Party won a majority was the one time where we had actually taken a pro-life position on something, not wasting Canadian taxpayers funding ideological pet projects abroad. That's actually a consensus-building position. And I think that is part of a winning suite of policies that the Conservative Party can adopt in the future.
Set out my agenda, my abortion agenda, and the 4 things that I would do. So I would stop the misogynist practice of sex-selective abortion, and I believe that over 90% of Canadians agree that a fetus shouldn't be terminated on the sole principle that it's a girl. I would also stop coerced abortion, and that's also not a divisive issue. The majority of Canadians agree that a woman should not be coerced into an abortion. I would also promote pregnancy care centers, which aid women who are in crisis, and I think that people agree that we should be there for women who are in crisis and pregnant. And I would also defund overseas abortion, because I don't believe that taxpayers' dollars should be used to fund overseas abortion. There are other aids that we could target that money towards.
So we're back with our panel discussion, and we're going to talk about leadership for a bit now. And I want to start with you, Catherine. You actually worked on Leslyn Lewis's leadership campaign. What was that like?
Well, for me, it was definitely a new experience because I'm used to working more in communications, which I did. I worked a little bit on Leslyn's French communications, but I also got to work on the media side, so like scheduling media interviews, that sort of thing. And that was actually, like you've seen in the latest in the interview we just showed, like, it wasn't that I was expecting it to be stressful, but it wasn't, because it was Leslyn and she's so good at what she does, and especially with the media, I just thought it was great to do that side of her campaign with her. But I guess another thing was I really liked working with her for the videos. Like, she often made her own script. Like, sometimes you'll have leaders having writers and everything, and she did have writers, but she often insisted on writing her own things. And that was super interesting because she was a very good writer. So
she does come across quite natural. Is that because it's her own script?
Oftentimes it is, yeah, and especially with the media, it's often her own ideas that she's putting forward, and I thought it was great. It was an honor to work with her, and I so hope that she eventually gets to be the leader. It'd be amazing. Yes, you and me both. Chris, let's do a compare and contrast here. We're looking at an election result quite similar to what we saw last time. We don't know yet if O'Toole is going to improve on the popular vote count or not. Give us a compare and contrast between Andrew Scheer's leadership and Erin O'Toole's leadership.
Well, obviously they have their differences, they have their commonalities. In terms of strengths, they both put together very strong teams. They ran very well-run campaigns. They managed to get their messages across. They had very thoughtful platforms. A lot of work goes into those, which is entirely behind the scenes and is sometimes taken for granted. I particularly liked Erin O'Toole's pro-worker approach in this campaign. I think one thing we could have done a little better certainly was perhaps be more direct on the pro-life issue in the 2019 election. In this current campaign, Erin is saying, I'm pro-choice. It's unfortunate that he changed his position on effective referrals vis-a-vis the leadership race. When the leader said, I'm pro-life in 2019, it had a very beneficial effect, and it kind of drew out some of the intensity of the media attack. And it conveyed authenticity. So being more direct about that is helpful. I think it's also very helpful to find something that we as a party can give to pro-lifers to earn their support. Again, in a way that that respects the need to build consensus. There were two important lessons, I think, of the 2011 election campaign, and I don't think they've been fully absorbed by the party yet. One of which is that in the last generation, we tend to get between 5 and 10 seats in Quebec, but we cannot win a majority without the 905. And that's something that Stephen Harper did in 2011. We won a majority of 11 seats, I believe, with 5 seats in Quebec. So even if we had won 0 seats in Quebec, we still would have had a healthy majority. And that's the only majority we've won since 1988. The other lesson from 2011, and again, shifting your focus in that way changes how you talk about things. It changes the issues you're addressing. The other lesson from 2011 is that there are things that you can offer the Canadian electorate that might be termed pro-life that are consensus respecting. And in Prime Minister Harper's years prior to 2011, in his term prior to 2011, we implemented the maternal and child health care policy with an explicit commitment not to fund abortion in our foreign aid. And in the very next election, we won a majority. We've shied away from that in other campaigns in the last few years, and we see the results. That doesn't mean that if you promise not to fund abortion in your foreign aid, you're automatically going to win a majority. But the 2011 election campaign does illustrate that you can do some things in a sophisticated way and still win, and win big as we did in 2011.
So I had one other question on that, because what we saw with the Scheer leadership campaign is that he stumbled on a lot of the questions that Leslin did very well on, as we just saw in that clip that we aired. But then after the election was over, almost immediately afterwards, he would answer all of these questions, and he would come across strong, sometimes snarky. And I remember many people saying, like, where was this guy during the leadership campaign? And we all like Andrew Scheer. We really liked him during the live stream we did last time. So I was just wondering, is there something about a leadership race that often prevents somebody's personality from coming out? And almost, you got all these staffers kind of telling you what to do, but sometimes I feel like they're kind of blocking the shot when letting the leader be the leader would actually have more of an effect. What can you tell us about that sort of thing?
Well, there are a lot of factors at play in that kind of situation, and trying to convey the leader's personality is an important part of it. It's part of conveying authenticity. It's part of conveying the sincerity of his principles and his respect for building a big blue tent. So I think it's something that the whole team needs to work towards. There's no easy answer, but I think the key takeaway from the last series of elections in Canada over the last 16 years basically is that the one time the Conservative Party won a majority was the one time where we had actually taken a pro-life position on something, not wasting Canadian taxpayers funding ideological pet projects abroad. That's actually a consensus-building position. And I think that is part of a winning suite of policies that the Conservative Party can adopt in the future.
Final question to you, Catherine. Do you think that somebody like Leslin Lewis or another leader, you've worked in politics for a while, could be the kind of person who could unite conservatives, social conservatives, fiscal conservatives, all these different groups? What's your take on that?
For sure. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that I saw, like, just even within the conservative circles. Like, I often spoke with some of my friends who were staffers who weren't pro-life at all, and they loved Leslin because they thought she was, like, articulate, and they liked that she brought a new side, like, of ideas and maybe a way to present ideas that was different from what we've seen in the past. And yeah, I've even had, like, one of my friends who was, like, really, really pro-choice, like, tell me she had changed last minute from Peter MacKay to Leslin because she just really liked her message. And she's got more of a positive outlook, and I don't know, I think for sure she would be an amazing leader for everyone.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for coming on to share your insights. We really, really appreciate it, and we will be right back.
What we do know is that when you go hardcore pro-abortion like the Prime Minister did, you're not going to win a majority, likely. And when you ignore that huge part of your base, such as Aaron O'Toole did with pro-lifers, you're not going to win government, period. So, I mean, it gets back to what, Chris was talking about early on in one of our panels. Jonathan, you've mentioned Alyssa as well. The last time that the Conservative Party of Canada won a majority government was when they actually had a pro-life issue that they actually didn't run away from, like they did for conscience rights this time, and stuck with it all the way through being defunding of abortion overseas. So pro-life policies, like the ones, for example, that Leslyn was campaigning on for the leadership race, are winning policies. And the longer and longer and longer that they don't embrace them, the more and more results they're going to get like this.
Yeah, like these establishment conservatives really need to listen to history, listen to the numbers, listen to the facts. Because like you said, back in 2011, when Harper won his majority, he did have a specifically pro-life policy that he had in his platform and defended. Andrew Scheer demoted Justin Trudeau to a minority and won the popular vote. At the 2018 convention in Halifax, Conservative Convention, half of the party voted to take out a pro-abortion policy from the policy handbook. These all point to the fact that you cannot shove social conservatives under the rug. They have a strong voice. They make up the majority of your caucus. They make up the majority of your voters and of your donors and of your volunteers.
And I really want to emphasize that, because there might be this feeling that, oh, conservatives can't win in this country. No, conservatives who consistently run away from conservative principles can't win in this country, and conservatives who by election day have run out of factions of the conservative base to screw over, they also lose on election days.